Theory. Can I ask just one more? I pleaded as Edward accelerated much too quickly down the quiet street. He didn't seem to be paying any attention to the road.
He never is.
He sighed. One, he agreed, his lips pressed together in a cautious line. Well, you said you knew I hadn't gone into that bookstore, and I had gone south. I was just wondering how you knew that. Fine then. I followed your scent. Sorry. Red flags everywhere.
Red flag. These two chapters, red flag sitting.
He looked at the road, giving me time to compose my face. I couldn't think of an acceptable response to that, but I filed it carefully away for future study. Who just accepts that anyways? I was ready to let him be finished now that he was finally explaining things. Then you didn't answer one of my first questions, I stalled. He looked at me with disapproval. How does it work, the mind-reading thing? Can you read anybody's mind, anywhere? How do you do it? Can the rest of your family? I felt silly, asking for clarification on make-believe. That's more than one, he pointed out. I simply intertwined my fingers and gazed at him, waiting. No, it's just me, and I can't hear anyone anywhere. I have to be fairly close. The more familiar someone's voice is, the farther away I can hear them. But still, no more than a few miles. He paused thoughtfully. It's just a hum, about a buzzing of voices in the background, until I focus on one voice, and then what they're thinking is clear. Most of the time I tune it all out. It can be very distracting. Why do you think you can't hear me? I asked curiously. He looked at me, his eyes enigmatic. I don't know, he murmured. Maybe your mind doesn't work the same way the rest of theirs do. Like your thoughts are on the AM frequency and I'm only getting FM. He grinned at me, suddenly amused. My mind doesn't work right? I'm a freak? The words bothered me more than they should. Okay, the thing she's getting upset over.
I know.
Are not in order. I hear voices in my mind and you're worried that you're the freak. He laughed. Don't worry, it's just a theory. His face tightened. Which brings us back to you. I sighed. How to begin? Aren't we past all the evasions now? He reminded me softly. I looked away from his face for the first time, trying to find words. I happened to notice the speedometer. Holy crow, I shouted. Slow down. What's wrong? He was startled, but the car didn't decelerate. You're going 100 miles an hour. I was still shouting. I shot a panicky glance at the window, but it was too dark to see much. Relax, Bella. He rolled his eyes, still not slowing. I always drive like this. He turned to smile crookedly at me. Keep your eyes on the road. I've never been in an accident, Bella. I've never even gotten a ticket. He grinned and tapped his forehead. Built-in radar detector. Very funny, I fumed. Charlie's a cop, remember? I was raised to abide by traffic laws. Enough commentary on my driving, he snapped. I'm still waiting for your latest theory. I won't laugh, he promised. I'm more afraid that you'll be angry with me. Is it that bad? Pretty much, yeah. He waited. I was looking down at my hands, so I couldn't see his expression. Go ahead. His voice was calm. I don't know how to start, I admitted. Dying. Okay. Why don't you start at the beginning? You said you didn't come up with this on your own. No. Then what got you started? A book? A movie? He probed. No, it was Saturday at the beach. I risked a glance at his face. He looked puzzled. I ran into an old family friend, Jacob Black, I continued. His dad and Charlie had been friends since I was a baby. His dad was one of the Quillette elders. I watched him carefully. His confused expression froze in place. We went out for a walk, and he was telling me some old legends, trying to scare me, I think. He told me one. I hesitated. Go on, he said. About vampires. I realized I was whispering. I couldn't look at his face now, but I saw his knuckles tighten convulsively on the wheel. And you immediately thought of me? Still calm. No, he mentioned your family. He was silent, staring at the road. He just thought it was silly superstition, I said quickly. He didn't expect me to think anything of it. It didn't seem like enough. I had to confess. It was my fault. I forced him to tell me. He started me by laughing. I glared at him. He was laughing, but his eyes were fierce, staring ahead. Tricked him how? He asked. This is so awkward. I tried to flirt. It worked better than I thought it would. Disbelief colored my tone as I remembered. I'd have liked to sing that. He chuckled. And you accused me of dazzling people. Poor Jacob Black. I blushed and looked out my window into the night. What did you do then? He asked after a minute. I did some research on the internet. And did that convince you? His voice sounded barely interested. No, nothing fits. Most of it was kind of silly. And then I stopped. What? I decided it didn't matter, I whispered. It didn't matter? His tone made me look up. I had finally broken through his carefully composed mask. No, I said softly. It doesn't matter to me what you are. You don't care if I'm a monster? If I'm not human? No. He was silent, staring straight ahead again. His face was bleak and cold. You're angry, I sighed. I shouldn't have said anything. No, he said, but his tone was as hard as his face. I'd rather know what you're thinking, even if what you're thinking is insane. So I'm wrong again? I challenged. It doesn't matter, he quoted, gritting his teeth together. I'm right, I guessed. Doesn't matter? I took a deep breath. Not really, I paused, but I am curious. My voice at least was composed. He was suddenly resigned. What are you curious about? How old are you? 17, he answered promptly. And how long have you been 17? His lips twitched as he stared at the road. A while, he admitted at last. Okay, I smiled, pleased that he was still being honest with me. Don't laugh, but how can you come out during the daytime? He looked away. Myth. Burned by the sun? Myth. Sleeping in coffins? Myth. He hesitated for a minute, and a peculiar tone entered his voice. I can't sleep. It took me a minute to absorb that. At all? Never, he said, his voice nearly inaudible. He turned to look at me with a wistful expression. He even asked me the most important question yet. His voice was hard now, and when he looked at me again, his eyes were cold. Which one is that? You aren't concerned about my diet? He asked sarcastically. Oh, I murmured. That. Yes, that. His voice was bleak. Don't you want to know if I drink blood? I flinched. Well, Jacob said something about that. What did Jacob say? He asked flatly. He said you didn't hunt people. He said your family weren't supposed to be dangerous because you only hunted animals. He said we weren't dangerous? His voice was deeply skeptical. Not exactly. He said that you weren't supposed to be dangerous, but the Quillets still didn't want you on their land, just in case. The Quillets have a long memory, he whispered. I took it as confirmation. Don't let that make you complacent, though, he warned me. They're right to keep their distance from us. We are still dangerous. I don't understand. We try, he explained slowly. We're usually very good at what we do. Sometimes we make mistakes. Me, for example, allowing myself to be alone with you. Is this a mistake? I heard the sadness in my voice, but I didn't know if he could as well. A very dangerous one. His words hinted at an end, and I recoiled from the idea. I couldn't waste 1 minute I had with him. Tell me more, I asked desperately, not caring what he said, just so I could hear his voice again. He looked at me quickly, startled by the change in my tone. What more do you want to know? Tell me why you hunt animals instead of people, I suggested, my voice still tinged with desperation. I realized my eyes were wet, and I fought against the grief of what that was trying to overpower me. She about to cry because I can't sit in a car forever?
Yeah, she's like, this is a mistake. I might not hang out with you anymore. What?
I don't want to be a monster. His voice was low. The animals aren't enough? He paused. I can't be sure, of course, but I compare it to living on tofu and soy milk. We call ourselves vegetarians, our little inside joke. It doesn't completely satiate the hunger, or rather thirst, but it keeps us strong enough to resist, most of the time. His tone turned ominous. Sometimes it's more difficult than others. Is it very difficult for you now? I asked. He sighed. Yes. But you're not hungry now, I said confidently, stating, not asking. Why do you think that? Your eyes. I told you I had a theory. I noticed that people, men in particular, are crabbier when they're hungry. He chuckled. You are observant, aren't you? I didn't answer. I just listened to the sound of his laugh, committing it to memory. Were you hunting this weekend with Emmett? I asked when it was quiet again. Yes, he paused for a second, as if deciding whether or not to say something. I didn't want to leave, but it was necessary. It's a bit easier to be around you when I'm not thirsty. Why didn't you want to leave? It makes me anxious to be away from you. His eyes were gentle but intent. I wasn't joking when I asked you to try not to fall in the ocean or get run over last Thursday. I was distracted all weekend worrying about you. I suppose, being you, it could have been much worse, and that possibility tormented me the entire time I was away. It was a very long 3 days. I really got on Emmett's nerves. He smiled ruefully at me. 3 days? Didn't you just get back today? No, we got back Sunday. Then why weren't any of you in school? I was frustrated, almost angry, as I thought of how much disappointment I had suffered because of his absence. Well, yes, that the sun hurt me, and it doesn't. But I can't go out in the sunlight, at least not where anyone can see. Why? I'll show you sometime, he promised. I thought about it for a moment. You might have called me, I decided. He was puzzled. But I knew you were safe. His velvety voice was compelling. I didn't like it, not seeing you. It makes me anxious, too. I blushed to be saying this out loud. He was quiet. I glanced up, apprehensive, and I saw that his expression was pained. Ah, he groaned quietly. This is wrong. Don't you see, Bella? It's one thing for me to make myself miserable, but a wholly other thing for you to be so involved. I don't want to hear that you feel that way. His voice was low but urgent. His words cut me. It's wrong. It's not safe. I'm dangerous, Bella. I told you, it doesn't matter what you are. It's too late. His voice whipped out, low and harsh. Never say that. I bit my lip and was glad he couldn't know how much that hurt. I stared out at the road. We must be close now. He was driving much too fast. I saw him reach toward me hesitantly with his right hand, but then he stopped and placed it slowly back on the steering wheel. Tell me something, he asked after another minute. I could hear him struggling to use a lighter tone. Yes? What were you thinking tonight, just before I came around that corner? I was trying to remember how to incapacitate an attacker. You know, self-defense. Didn't you think about running? I fall down a lot when I run, I admitted. What about screaming for help? I was getting to that part. He shook his head. You're right. I'm definitely fighting fate trying to keep you alive. I sighed. We were slowing, passing into the boundaries of Forks. It had taken less than 20 minutes. Will I see you tomorrow? I demanded. Yes, I have a paper due too, he smiled. I'll save you a seat at lunch. It was silly, after everything we'd been through tonight, how that little promise sent flutters to my stomach and made me unable to speak. He stopped the car and I didn't move. Do you promise to be there tomorrow? I promise. I considered that for a moment, then nodded. I pulled his jacket off, taking one last whiff. You can keep it. You don't have a jacket for tomorrow, he reminded me. I handed it back to him. I don't want to have to explain to Charlie. Oh, right, he grinned. I hesitated, my hand on the door handle, trying to prolong the moment. Bella? He asked in a different tone, serious but hesitant. Yes, I turned back to him too eagerly. Will you promise me something? Yes, I said, and instantly regretted my unconditional agreement. What if he asked me to stay away from him? I couldn't keep that promise. Sorry, Patrick is judging me.
As he should.
Don't go into the woods alone. I stared at him in blank confusion. Why? He frowned, and his eyes were tight as he stared past me out the window. I'm not always the most dangerous thing out there. Let's leave it at that. I shivered slightly at the sudden bleakness in his voice, but I was relieved. This, at least, was an easy promise to honor. Whatever you say. I'll see you tomorrow, he sighed. I knew he wanted me to leave now. Tomorrow, then. I opened the door unwillingly. Bella? I turned, and he was leaning toward me, his pale, glorious face just inches from mine. My heart stopped beating. Sleep well, he said. I was unable to move until my brain had somewhat unscrambled itself. Then I stepped out of the car awkwardly, having to use the frame for support. I thought I heard him chuckle, but the sound was too quiet for me to be certain. I waited till he had stumbled to the front door, and then I heard his engine quietly rev. I turned to watch the silver car disappear around the corner. I realized it was very cold. I reached for the key mechanically, unlocked the door, and stepped inside. Charlie called from the living room. Bella? Yeah, Dad, it's me. I walked in to see him. He was watching a baseball game. You're home early. Am I? I was surprised. It's not even 8 yet, he told me. Did you girls have fun? Yeah, it was lots of fun. My head was spinning as I tried to remember all the way back to the girls' night out I had planned. They both found dresses. Are you alright? I'm just tired. I did a lot of walking. Well, maybe you should go lie down. He sounded concerned. I wondered what my face looked like. I'm just gonna call Jessica first. Weren't you just with her? He asked, surprised. Yes, but I left my jacket in her car. I want to make sure she brings it tomorrow. The phone rang suddenly, startling me. I yanked it off the hook. Hello? I asked breathlessly. Bella? Hey, Jess, I was just gonna call you. You made it home? Her voice was relieved and surprised. Yeah, I left my jacket in your car. Could you bring it to me tomorrow? Sure, but tell me what happened, she demanded. Tomorrow. In Trig, okay? She cut on quickly. Is your dad there? Yeah, that's right. Okay, I'll talk to you tomorrow then. Bye! I could hear the impatience in her voice. Bye, Jess. I walked up the stairs slowly, a heavy stupor clouding my mind. I went through the motions of getting ready for bed without paying any attention to what I was doing. I dressed for bed swiftly and climbed under my quilt, curling into a ball, hugging myself to keep warm. A few small shudders trembled through me. My mind still swirled dizzily, full of images I couldn't understand, and some I fought to repress. Nothing seemed clear at first, but I felt gradually closer to unconsciousness. A few certainties became evident. About 3 things I was absolutely positive. First, Edward was a vampire. Second, there was a part of him, I didn't know how potent that part might be, that thirsted for my blood. And third, I was unconditionally and irrevocably in love with him.
That cover blurb!
That cover! That's what I was thinking. So honored I got to read that. Dang. We're really in it now.
Whoa!
Don't need your kisses. I don't need your kisses. Oh, sorry.